however that looks. It's a powerful concept to realize that our whole life journey, we are meant to return to the version of us that we were originally born as. We come into this earth never doubting, never questioning our worth, never questioning what feels right to us. We don't even think about it. We just are. You know, as children, we just are what we are meant to be, and we dream of what we're meant to be in our future version self. And then we go through experiences in life that try to derail us from that. And it's part of the test. It's part of the bigger, grander purpose of all of this, which is that we prove to ourselves that we are powerful enough to remember who we are when we're stripped of our identity, when we're convinced of lies and deceptions and illusions that are painting a version of us that was never actually who we really were. And I feel really strongly about that as I ponder here this morning, and I think about a lot of the people that I've met in my life recently that are such good people, like higher vibrational people that I've been meeting that are really on their path and their road and their journey to discovering, reclaiming their own energy. And it's interesting as I look at some of those newer energies, and I still see a lot of this common struggle for most of us, even the ones who are looking at the mindset shifts and the shadow work and everything else that's really important to be focusing on. One of the hardest things to do is just to be who we are, to experience who we are to the fullest extent, and not doubt ourselves or question our inclinations for what we should be pursuing. Anyway, so as I'm pondering this morning and kind of reflecting on like what is the big key factor that still is seeming to be the hardest to implement, even for those who are really already on that spiritual journey. And it seems to be two things that I am especially considering this morning. One is the vulnerability aspect and the reclaiming of our authentic expression. And that comes from being fucking weird sometimes. That comes from, or at least looking that way to other people. And you have to face that, feel that fear, and then remove the limiting factor of letting that fear control you. You can still feel the fear, but do the thing anyway. Do the thing anyway, whatever it is. And then the other piece is not I was having a discussion with my mom about this particular topic and kind of expressing this idea to her of things that I've been practicing for myself in my own period of like a solitude kind of period that I've been in for a few months now. It's really important to learn how to implement healthy, interdependent relationships. And there is a piece that is more especially important to implement first before that can ever merge with truly healthy interdependent relationships. And that is being able to identify in yourself through your own journey of self-awareness, self-reflection, identifying when you're needing other people truly, like when you're needing like co-regulation with another person, and when you're needing that validation and that expression and that listening ear from yourself. It's really, really important to be able to learn and practice how to identify the difference of when your body needs one versus the other. And sometimes it needs a combination of both. But you're only going to learn that through experience. You're only going to be able to practice that as you journey deeper into yourself. So I would say that from my own experience, when you're first starting this part especially, but then as you're merging, like maybe you've already been through a lot of the self-work part, which a lot of the people that I'm talking to have probably already been through a lot of the self-work and the shadow work and, you know, everything related to that realm and that part of the journey. As you're starting to merge what you've learned from the solo part, and you start to merge with creating new relationships that are meant to be more of your lasting connections for this next phase of your life, or a romantic partnership of anything of that sort, it's really important in this transition process to recognize that most often you need to be focusing on yourself first. And that's not news, right? Like that's something that is becoming widespread awareness right now. You have to focus on yourself first and tuning into yourself, especially when you're feeling frustrated in a relationship or frustrated with events or circumstances in life. And I was having a discussion with a person that I met just recently, and he was expressing a lot of this like frustration. He's a very spiritual individual, someone who has really done a lot of that self-work. And it was interesting, as I was listening to him express these things, I could feel like from his own energy and from his own body, like I could feel for him that his body was like crying out to him, like, you listen to me, like I want you to see me, I want you to hear me. And he was outsourcing to me and to several other people in his life, which he was freely admitting that he had been trying to reach out to several other people in his life, and it hadn't quite been like doing it for him. It hadn't quite been what he was needing to experience as far as like a true release and a true validation of the frustration that he's been experiencing in several different circumstances. And I just kept feeling and was doing my best to express to him that there's some times where your body is craving for you to listen to it, because you're the adult now. You're the child, and you're the teenager, and you're the future version and the higher self. You're all of them. And so it's really important to start to learn that signal from your own body and that cue from yourself of, wow, I'm really needing recognition for what I'm experiencing. I'm really needing validation. And none of these are negative things. They're very important things. But the reason I feel the need to really kind of drill this home is because they're so important, and because oftentimes it gets stigmatized and put in this negative light in society because we view others as either clingy or as like taking on that victim role and that victim energy when they are outsourcing. And it's not a bad thing. It's just needing to be a perspective shift. A perspective shift of that most of the time, at least first, you may need to be giving yourself that energy that you're craving from another person, that you were missing from another person, because it's likely the child version of yourself that truly did need that from another person, because children are not developmentally, psychologically, neurologically able yet to self-regulate their own emotions on their own. So they feel that need, they feel that dependency, they feel that deficit, and they know that they need another person. When we grow up and we're now adults and we have these unhealed versions of ourselves that we've been working on and everything else, and we've been through a lot of this self-growth and self-healing journey, most often the perspective shift that's needing to happen is that when we're triggered and when we're feeling those really deep emotions, our child version has these really big swells, and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm not safe. I need a parent figure. That's really what they're looking for, right? Is that parent figure that can soothe them and co-regulate and all of that. But you are that version now. And you are the one who can actually have the power, regardless of who your parents were, how they were, everything else. That's the empowering part of becoming an adult, is you actually have the neurological function to be able to self-regulate, even if you don't feel like it. You'll be surprised that if you start giving yourself the attention that you're craving from another person, like actually think about, what do I want from someone else right now? What am I needing from someone else right now? Do I need a hug? Do I need a listening ear? You give yourself a hug, it really mimics what you're craving from another person, and it provides the same but even deeper effect, because we want to be recognized by ourselves. That's how we develop true confidence in ourselves and our own mental, emotional, financial, social, spiritual stability, is by giving energy to ourselves and giving love and support to ourselves. It's not always an easy process when you're starting this out of separating your higher self version and the ability that you have to simultaneously be a parent version to the child or the teenage version of yourself that is upset and dysregulated at the moment. But you have the capacity and the neurology as an adult to actually function as both. That's why an adult can become a parent and can, technically speaking, have the role and responsibility of helping their child co-regulate. Now, most of us haven't experienced that. Most of us have not experienced the healthy version of a parent and an adult who has done the work to be able to tap into that resource that they have internally to regulate. Most often what we've experienced is the adults or the parents matching our child energy and reciprocating it back. If we're throwing a tantrum, they match that energy and they get really dysregulated. But what's actually able to happen for those who have done their own self-awareness, check-in, healing work, and deep dive into their own psyche and into their own shadow parts, you are actually able to take a pause, take a breath in that moment, and learn to listen to that child as the dysregulated state that they're in, and not see that as who they are. You see who they are in general, and you see that as a very emotional response that is needing a certain kind of soothing in that moment, or a certain kind of action. and recognition in that moment. But you have to take that pause first to recognize where your own emotions are at. Take that moment to regulate yourself first, either through breath, through movement, or through like quietly listening to and coaching yourself, like, hey, I'm feeling this right now. I'm feeling really stressed. I'm feeling really dysregulated. Or maybe you need to take a step away for a second. You would do those things with a child, and we need to recognize that that is exactly what we're needing to do for ourselves. We need to take the moment to separate our energy, because we are not our dysregulated version. We are not just that. We are experiencing that. And there's these other parts. And when you take that second to breathe, to recognize, which will come easier as you start to practice it and implement it more, then you can take that moment, separate, and come from your higher self parent version to handle and soothe and co-regulate within yourself that inner child. I hope this is helpful, because this is a concept that I've been learning and practicing and implementing for myself for a long time now. And now that I'm entering back into merging what I've learned into new relationships, I'm seeing this concept come up in the form of I'm witnessing and observing someone else experiencing, and I can see and feel their body and their energy calling to them, like crying out like a child, like for them to see themselves. But they don't realize that that's what they don't realize that signal for what it is yet. Or it feels like, well, that won't work because I can't do it for myself, right? Because we still see ourselves as that child version in that moment. Like we feel like I need someone else. And it feels like that really strongly because that child version does. It's actually accurate. You just have to recognize that you do actually have the capacity to separate yourself and use a different version to look, not a higher version, but a bigger version, a more adult, a more mature version that can witness and be there for that child in that moment and soothe and regulate them accordingly. Hope this is helpful. It's probably worth listening through these concepts a few different times, because there's depth here and there's layers to this practice and to this work.